Welcome to Rob Nagy's Rock and Roll Legacy. For more than 4 decades as a freelance music journalist, I had the honor and the privilege of interviewing countless music icons in rock and roll, jazz, R&B, and blues. It was a priceless journey that began in my late teens. I never imagined I would cross paths with many of my music heroes. Digging deep into my archives, I selected pop music legend Al Jarreau, which I hope will be a memorable journey for you, the listener, and preserve his legacy for future generations. Merging elements of jazz, pop, soul, R&B, and his signature vocal percussion, Jarreau attained critical and commercial success following the release of his 1981 album, Breakin' Away. On the strength of the hit single, We're in This Love Together, Jarreau won his first Grammy Award for Best Male Pop Vocal Performance of 1982. He would win 7 more Grammy Awards throughout his legendary career. Jarreau wrote the lyrics and recorded the Grammy-nominated theme to the popular 1980s TV show Moonlighting. Appearances on The Johnny Carson, Mike Douglas, Merv Griffin, Saturday Night Live, Dinah Shore, and David Frost TV shows exposed Jarreau to a massive audience. Performing concerts to adoring fans all over the world, Jarreau shared the concert stage with fellow music icons Chick Corea, Miles Davis, George Benson, and David Sanborn, to name a few. In 1985, he joined a roster of some of the biggest names in popular music as a featured vocalist on USA for Africa's We Are the World and HBO's Comic Relief, performing a duet with Natalie Cole. Jarreau received a star on Hollywood's Walk of Fame in 2001, was enshrined in the Soul Music Hall of Fame in 2012, and received an honorary doctorate of music from the Berklee College of Music in 1991. Al Jarreau died at the age of 76 in Los Angeles, California in 2017. I had the pleasure and the honor of interviewing Al Jarreau multiple times throughout his career. You are about to hear an unscripted phone interview I did with Al in 1995. For your listening pleasure, I give you the late Al Jarreau. How did you get involved in performing music, and at what point did you realize that was something that you wanted to do for a career?
Real early, man. I was singing, well, I have a placard at home that shows boy singer in grand recital for Sharon Chapel Seventh-day Adventist Church. Benefits accepted, or donations accepted. I was 4 years old.
Wow.
I don't know when I started singing.
Yeah.
It's early in my 4th year or pre-4, and just a continuation of that, and probably some kind of born with love for it and love for music that had me knowing, by the time I was 14 or 15, that I would always be singing if it was for free. That music and singing and standing in front of people and opening my mouth and pouring forth with a song would be some big part of my life.
Mm-hmm.
By the time I was 20, I had opinion, and that feeling had deepened even more.
Mm-hmm.
But I was a student at the same time, so by then I was off at university and preparing for some kind of vocation. I ended up in rehabilitation counseling, which I actually worked in for about 4 years between age 24 and 20.
Was that for drugs and alcohol, or what was?
Alcohol, ex-cons, physically disabled, emotionally disabled, across the board.
Mm-hmm. Just basically troubled people. Yeah.
Across the board, the state of California and all states have rehabilitation programs for people who are disabled in
Mm-hmm.
one way or another.
Right.
Physically, emotionally, mentally, and they work with them to get them gainfully employed if possible.
And you did that as you made your living at that for 4 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was at the same time taking my PhD with George Duke.
You mentioned George Duke. If I can just interrupt for a moment, I interviewed George about a month and a half ago.
And that was one of the questions I was going to ask you, but maybe I'll bring it up now while you brought his name up.
Right.
He had mentioned that he played in a band in some of the clubs in San Francisco.
Right.
And you guys got hooked up as a result of one of the club owners or managers suggesting you guys maybe put a band together. I was going to get that story from you as well, if you could share that with me, how you guys got hooked up. And
well, I walked into this club where George was playing. On Sunday afternoons, they had a jam session. Hey, it was kind of like a free-for-all. Anyone who wanted to come in and play, brought their horn or brought their voice. And George was leading the band there. And I got up and sang, and club owner asked me to come back and do it again. I came back and did it again. He hired me.
Mm-hmm.
And so I did the next 3.5, 4 years with George at the Half Note Club.
Right.
In San Francisco. And as I was saying, I did some of the most serious growing that I've ever done as a singer during that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And it was soon after that I realized that I wasn't not soon after, it was in 68 that I realized that I was really not a rehab counselor, and decided, well, okay, I'm going to do music. I'm going to try to make my living doing music, and that was the beginning of my search for a recording deal, which happened in 75, and now it's 13 albums later.
That's amazing. It's an amazing track record. How difficult was it? You said it was around 68 that you realized that the singer is really what your vocation was, and you didn't get an album until 75.
Yeah.
How difficult was that time period for you, and did you work consistently? What was that time period until you got signed like? I mean, did you have, obviously you probably had tough times, I would think.
Well, what you're suggesting is quite on target. It was a very strange and difficult time for a guy like me. Let's have a look at San Francisco, 1964 through 1968. This
Right.
is Jefferson Airplane territory.
Right.
This is Janis Joplin, Gracie Slick, Country Joe and the Fish territory. They didn't know anything about singers like me. It was a strange and crazy world to be living in, feeling what I felt for the kind of stuff that I was trying to do. But on the other hand, for someone who could see past the apparent insanity for a singer like me, it was possible to be aware that still we were packing them in. We were packing them into this club. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, the people were there and listening to this alternative kind of music, which really gave me the feeling that there was a place for some other stuff in this world of high rock and roll.
Right.
And so when I left rehabilitation in 1968, I was on fire with the desire and started knocking on doors and was undaunted, even though it took 7 years. Came to New York during that period of time and experienced some amazingly encouraging things in 1969-70. Came here without a recording deal, worked at the Playboy Club, was one of the few musical acts at the Improv, Bud Friedman's improvisation, the comedy club. Got on national television on the Johnny Carson show during that period of time without a recording deal, just the talent scouts understanding that, hey, recording deal or no recording deal, this is someone doing some music that we think is valuable. Did the David Frost show.
Wow.
Auspices.
Yeah.
No recording deal. Just a guy singing a song and some talent director going, wait a minute, I'd like to have that on the show. So those things were really encouragements to me, even though I couldn't get a nod at any record company. And even still, it was, several years later, in '75, that the first recording deal, the recording deal came along. I've always been with Warner, still am.
You've been with the same label your entire career? That's amazing. That's something that's almost unheard of anymore. Well, anybody staying with anything, that's loyalty.
Yeah.
What has kept you there?
It is loyalty, and it's contract time now, and we're circling each other. We're wondering if we want to do this again. Well, what's kept me there is their family feeling for everything that they do, pretty much. I look around. I don't know where else I could do a lot better, but I'm going to look around again. It's contract time, and test the waters and see what's going on elsewhere, and who knows? Maybe it's GRP, Bruce and Rosen Productions. I don't know. But there has been a real family kind of feeling there, and in my case, I feel like they have always taken a kind of patron of the art attitude. I mean, they knew that I wasn't going to be a Tevin Campbell single-selling artist from the start.
Right.
They knew that. They knew it wasn't, talking about people coming after me, a Prince single-selling rock and rolls from the start. They knew that I was an album artist and an artist that might have a limited kind of appeal. I think they've guessed wrong as far as the size of the appeal, and
I certainly agree with that.
And I don't think they've done all the things that they could have to get me to my target audience. But anyhow, it's been a great relationship.
Yeah. Well, it would have to be to endure that long. I kind of look at your you as an artist as being, like you said, you're not the person that's going to sell a lot of singles, and your market is going to be limited, but you're the bread and butter of a record label. In fact, all record labels could use about 5 or 10 artists like you, because while you're not going to sell the most records, you're always going to be steady, and you're going to be the foundation of the company.
Well, I don't know if I'd go so far as to describe myself as the foundation, but I think I carry my weight.
I think you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
I think,
and I think that's why they've hung with me, is because I carry my weight, and I pay for my records every time out, with a number of sales, and I think they enjoy the association with, an alternative kind of music that is, what's the way to describe it? A different kind of music that maybe has some artistic value.
Is there any piece in particular that you've recorded that's your favorite, or is it hard to pinpoint one particular piece of music?
It's hard to pinpoint any particular piece of music. I mean, I'm sitting here now, and my favorite album is this one that we've just done, Tenderness. Not even mention a particular song. And if you'd asked me that question 18 months ago, I'd be telling you that my favorite album was the Heaven and Earth album. The new projects tend to, for me, be the new baby getting all my attention,
Right.
Getting the bottle and the change of diapers and all the love and attention. But, hey, the first album, man, how can that not be a sentimental favorite for me? The one that got me, out of the neighborhood and onto the national and international scene. How could we got by not be, just sentimentally so important for me?
Sure.
breaking away album, an album that kind of did the thing of announcing to the music appreciating world in general that Al Jarreau, in fact, is a pop singer and an R&B singer. There were things on that album that jumped off and got was the best-selling album that I ever had that weren't quote unquote jazz songs. I mean, I had been claimed early by jazzers, and a whole bunch of people out there didn't, especially understand that the point that I am also an R&B and pop singer that had been since the beginning. So that was an especially important album.
Right.
I mean, for personal reasons, the Heart's Horizon album, the first album that I really did extensively with George Duke. I mean, two old buds coming together again and doing some really fine music. So it's all over the place that I have favorites and with special reasons for songs or albums being really important.
Mm-hmm. Right. Aside of George, obviously, just hearing the way you speak about him, you enjoyed working with him along with the friendship you have with him. Are there any other artists that you have worked with that are particular favorites of yours that you've worked well with and had a good relationship with?
Every producer that I've ever worked with has brought something really special to the studio for me to respond to react to try to test in the waters, and that begins with Tommy LaPuma and Al Schmidt doing the first projects with me, and right through Jay Graydon, Nile Rodgers, and Narada Michael Walden. I've worked with some great people.
Mm-hmm. I would say.
And great artists. I mean, if you look at the roster of people on the Tenderness album, I'm beginning with my producer, Marcus Miller. David Sanborn is on that album. Joe Sample, Eric Dale. It's a who's who.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Brecker, Kathleen Battle, the opera singer. It's a who's who of talented people who've come together in one room and decided they were going to rehearse for 4 days some music, invite an audience in, and it's 1, 2, 3, go, and that's the album.
Wow.
That is the album.
Yeah, that had to be really special.
That is very special.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen. It's unheard of
Mm-hmm.
these days.
Sure.
Nobody makes albums like that. 1, 2, 3, go.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is.
Yeah.
And because of that special kind of situation, everybody, brought their biggest ears, their biggest sensitivity, and realizing the company that they were in, just did their very, very best, and it shows.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in front of an audience that's made it really intimate and tender, and you can almost touch the intimacy. I mean, it drips off of the album.
Mm-hmm.
Found some classic Jarreau tunes to put on the album, and some standards that I've never done before that people will recognize of other artists, and then some new material, brand new, never done, that I wrote with Marcus, and another piece that a friend wrote for me. And so for a live album, we have an album that's not rehashed Al Jarreau, but 2/3 brand new stuff that I've never done.
Yeah.
Unheard of. Live album done
Wow.
in that kind of fashion. Walk in the studio, rehearse for a few days. 1, 2, 3, let's go. That's 1940s. 1950s stuff.
It really is.
Yes,
It really is. It's a shame because I think... I'm sorry?
And you can feel it when you hear it on the album. You can feel that it's that kind of situation. A lot of spontaneous things happen, and kind of project that I probably should be giving more often to the people who know Al Jarreau, and who especially know Al Jarreau in the concert situation. My concert audience is at least 70% responsible for my career. I sell albums, but not like the people whose names my name will be mentioned in the same breath. I'm no certainly no Stevie Wonder. I'm certainly no Luther Vandross in terms of album sales. My audience is an audience that I have cultured and built through going out there and doing concerts live, in your face. I sell enough albums for my record company to not be mad at me, to pay my bills, whatever they spent on the producer and whatever they spent on the musicians who came in. But I ain't triple platinum, never have been. I don't know if I ever will be. But I have built this audience of concert goers who I really should have given more live music to, who come there knowing they're going to get something that is, if I say so myself, rare. I'm a performer for a long, long time.
Yes.
And I'm in rare company.
Uh-huh.
There
You
aren't
certainly
many
are.
people on the scene today who've been doing it as long as I do, who have those performance chops, and that thing that makes tonight different than last night, because it's a different audience than it was last night.
Right.
This is not pre-recorded. I don't hit the mark, open my arms, and say what I said last night. So, that's what we tried to capture on this album, and I think we got some of that, and I think there's a bunch of people who are my gang that are going to say, God, Al, where you been so long, to give us that kind of live album again that harkens back to, the Look to the Rainbow album and the Live in London album.
Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it. I'll tell you, the thing that really comes through seeing you live that I'm looking forward to hearing on that album is your enthusiasm and your love of what you look like the happiest person in the world up there on stage, and you
The happiest me that you'll ever see.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful. I think your enthusiasm and your stage presence is the best, or up there with the best that I've ever seen. And I'm not just saying that. I've seen a lot of artists, and you smile. I sat there smiling the whole time. I mean, this is a nice guy that's got a lot of talent, having a great time.
Thank you.
And that's really what comes through.
Yeah.
And I think your fans are definitely going to receive a live album extremely well, because the ones that go out and see you are the ones that probably share the same feeling that I do. And I've just gotten into your music recently, and there's people that have been following you, I'm sure, for years.
Yeah. And we did a video that's a 60-minute long-form video of the entire of all of the music, which is intercut with some commentary from me and Marcus about the process of putting the project together and all. Very interesting video.
Oh, I'm sure it is. I am going to ask you a question that I'm sure you've been asked a million times, but I'm going to ask it of you anyway. Sure. The years that you spent in the business, what is the highlight? Was it meeting a president or performing for a number of your peers? Is there any one experience that stands out as being a really special moment to you, aside of just performing and performing for your fans?
Well, it really is that, just every opportunity, every chance, every time that I'm out there is really some kind of highlight moment that is, if nothing else, a reach farther into future time than yesterday, which doesn't have to be. I mean, it really doesn't have to be. I watched artists disappear off of the scene during my whole career, and thank God every morning that I have this day that is one day farther forward in the future than yesterday to be doing what I do. People come and gone. Music changing. I survived the great disco scare.
And it was a scare. No doubt there.
Yeah. And I seem to be hanging in there through rap and roll, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And jumped on board during the heyday of rock and roll.
Right.
So that's great stuff. Well, having said that, we were in South Africa last fall, and did a concert with and for Nelson Mandela. Met him, and got a chance to congratulate him and Mr. de Klerk on their shared not Pulitzer but Nobel Prize.
Wow.
Did a benefit concert for what is the Zinzi Mandela. His daughter works for Operation Hunger, and we did a couple of big fundraisers for them, and that was a very special moment for me.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it was. I mean, to meet Nelson Mandela, you don't get very many opportunities to meet a world leader. So, you know, to do something like that must have been really neat. Do you do a lot of charity work?
Yeah, I try to make myself available for those things. I've never really chaired a committee, but I suppose that'll come in.
Do you feel a responsibility as a successful entertainer? Do you feel a responsibility that you now should give something back, or do you feel you're a role model?
I think so. And it's hard to measure to what degree I, in fact, am. Oh boy. You know what I'm thinking right now. That oh boy just came from the OJ's face just flashed in front of my eyes.
Oh, it's tragic. It really is tragic. I don't know how to react to that.
I don't either.
Did you know OJ?
No, I didn't know him. You know, not any more than you did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but we both knew him, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we knew him. He lived inside of us. I mean, it's the great American dream.
Oh.
I mean, it's that story of Horatio Alger. I mean, the kid from Nowheresville, you know, who does well, and the kid from Nowheresville, you know, who comes and shows us that all things are possible. You know, have a dream and you can make it happen. You know. Well, he had some ability too.
Sure.
I mean, he was really a gifted athlete, but man, that's the dream that every American talks about when they talk about the American dream. OJ was it. To have been a minority and made that happen too, and to find himself in the hearts of the American people in general, the world in general, this sector of the universe. Oh, it's heartbreaking.
Oh, it really is.
To see that.
You could, you really could cry for him. I mean, you just, it's. There aren't many people that project what he projected, and in fact, I can't think of another one right now. That's how hard it is, because you get let down so often.
And we're talking as though it's all over and decided.
Mm-hmm.
I
don't mean to.
I don't mean.
Yeah,
to either.
I don't want you to take it that way.
But what we know about the case already just seems so.
It doesn't look good.
Indicted.
Yeah, it really doesn't. Does what happened? I don't want to hang on OJ the rest of our conversation, but I do think it's important that it was brought up. Does something like what has happened to him, regardless of whether he is going to be innocent or guilty, does that put additional pressure on someone like yourself as an artist? I mean, do you think that makes it harder for you? I mean, because people just feel at this point that who do they even look to anymore as a role model?
Well, I don't feel any additional pressure, but pressure there has always been to once you realize that you're kind of an opinion leader and in the spotlight in any sort of way, to conduct yourself in a certain kind of manner.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't tell you the number of times that I've been standing in a line at a bank, standing in line at a supermarket, and something outrageous happens in that situation, where if I had not taken a deep breath and realized that I couldn't respond like John Doe, that person behind me, who after it's all over, who says, "Jarreau, I love your music," and God, that was great patience that you showed there.
Mm-hmm.
People are watching.
Yeah, they really are.
Watching, and paparazzi is everywhere. And the 5 o'clock and 11 o'clock news are everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's pressure. Well, on the other hand, I thank God I don't have any really serious habits that would endanger my image in any great kind of way. I'll have one too many wines sometime and laugh a little bit loud.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with that. Doesn't hurt anybody.
Right.
I just have a couple more questions, and then I'll let you get going. When I did interview George, he had mentioned to me, he specifically mentioned your name, actually, as being one of the most memorable artists that he's worked with in the studio, because you like to sing extremely late at night. And he said, you'll call him up, and you'll say, get the studio set up at 8 o'clock, and you'll roll in at 10 o'clock, and then get a check. And he said, by the time things get up and rolling, it's midnight, and then you're out of there at 7 a.m. in the morning.
I love it that way. I'm a club animal.
Yeah.
Yeah. That comes from singing in clubs and being in clubs late at night and feeling your vocal best at the end of the evening at 1:30 or 2 o'clock in the morning.
Mm-hmm.
Now let's turn on the machines.
Mm-hmm. Right. Exactly. But I thought it was kind of humorous. He got a real kick out of sharing that story with me.
Yeah.
How would you like to see yourself remembered, in the scheme of music? I mean, where do you see Al Jarreau in the progression of music? And is that a question you can answer for me?
Well.
And let me add to that. How would you like to be remembered?
Well, I suppose as I hope as a fine singer and performer. Hey, that'll be quite enough. I mean, if people think that I've contributed something to the genre, that'll be icing on the cake. But if I'm just remembered as a good singer performer, that'll be quite nice, you know. And to be mentioned, you know, in the same breath as Bobby McFerrin, or in the same breath as George Benson, or Aretha Franklin, or Joni Mitchell, you know, that'll be fine enough for me. Maybe they'll think that I brought something to the craft that's of a special sort too. I think if nothing else, you know, I reminded people that there is something called scat singing that an artist signed to a record company in 1975, not 1955, has an appreciation for and wants to do, and wanted to do at that point, and continues to do. So it's that kind of stuff.
No, you're a very humble individual. I'm amazed.
Well, you know, I don't have any deflated sense of who I am. I think I recognize that, you know, that I've made some contributions, but they aren't for me to say. They are for other people to say, you know what, Al? Let me tell you what you gave to me. I don't know what you're thinking you did. Let me tell you what you gave to me, and what I think you gave to us. That's for other people to talk about. If I get recognized as a guy who got up there and sang the song, who had a sense of how to deliver a song like a good singer, and who loved performing in the moment and enjoyed being with his audience, hey, that's the shit. I'll take that every time.
Sure. Well, I'll tell you, I think we've covered everything I need to go over. It's really been a pleasure speaking to you. I could sit here. That's why I enjoy interviewing artists like yourself. I could sit here for 4 or 5 hours and just chat, you know. And I just really have enjoyed speaking with you. And I do want to meet you when you come to town.
Well,
so
it won't be that long before I'm around.
Well, I hope so. Are you coming through Philadelphia this year? Or?
We're just putting together the summer tour for the States. I'm off to Europe tomorrow night. We're going to do the Letterman show, and then I'm hopping on a plane flying to Warsaw, Poland.
Oh, wow. What a place to start. When are you on Letterman, this evening or tomorrow evening?
Tomorrow evening.
Oh, okay. I'll be sure to watch that then.
Great.
Well, it was a pleasure speaking with you, Al, and I wish you all the luck in the world, and I hope I get a chance to meet you and to talk to you again very soon.
All right, great.
Take care and good luck.
Thanks.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Interviewing Al Jarreau was like talking to a close friend. Whether we were on the phone or sitting in his backstage dressing room, he always made me feel special. I found him to be the epitome of an enlightened, faith-based man who visibly lived to bring joy to the world on stage and off. Thank you for taking a walk with me down memory lane. I look forward to our time together next week when I present an interview I conducted in 1997 with jazz legend Chick Corea. Until next time, peace, serenity, and blessings.